This week on our podcast for Beneath, it's a special episode. We'll be talking with Blake Best and Joshua Adams from Freddy vs. Jason Dreamscape.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. The unburied dead are coming back to life, seeking human victims.
Blake, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Josh, how you doing?
Doing awesome. Doing awesome.
And Mr.
Staying
Poe,
healthy.
how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm not going to act like we don't talk all the time, though.
Yeah,
We're always
yeah.
texting and everything. So
Yeah.
you know how I am.
I know how you're doing. Yes. All right. So, first question, just to get break the ice and get everything out in the open here. Blake, favorite horror movie?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Josh, favorite horror movie?
Favorite horror movie? I don't know. Tough one.
Yeah. That is a hard. We ask people this all the time, and it is a hard question, even for us, because there's so many great
I'll
ones.
just say Nightmare on Elm Street's
There
probably
you
my
go.
favorite.
Okay. The default answer is usually Halloween, but
What?
that's
No,
what-
Nightmare on Elm Street's my favorite film. That's the movie
Yeah.
that inspired me to write. So
all right. Well,
Oh, go ahead.
since you wrote it, Freddy vs. Jason Dreamscape, what made you want to do a Freddy vs. Jason movie?
well, I got the opportunity to write it through Cody. He had posted a thing on his Facebook page about how would you guys like to see me in a fan film of Freddy vs. Jason? And I just wrote a comment saying, I'd love to see that, and I'd love to write it. Not thinking anything of it. He then private messaged me later saying, "Hey, are you a writer?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, as a hobby. I mean, I went to school for it and stuff, but I mean, it's like, well, do you think you can write that? Like, write a Freddy vs. Jason film for me?" I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, I'll put together like a treatment for you, and if you like it, whatever." I didn't think much of it, and so I wrote him 3 different versions, like what would be like the first like 5-6 pages of the script. I says, "Which one do you like?" And he picked the one he liked. So I started writing it, and I wrote about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 pages. And next thing you know, Blake contacts me, and we get to talking. We wind up becoming best friends after a few days. Just, it's like the brother I never knew I had. And then he started helping me out with the whole process, creative process, since was very knowledgeable of the franchise and stuff of Nightmare on Elm Street. And for me, as a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, like everyone, I love Freddy vs. Jason, the one that came out in 2003. But for me, I always felt like Freddy vs. Jason should be an event film. And this is a culmination of 2 huge franchises that spans, 20 to 30 years. And you have this mythology and characters. And when I saw Freddy vs. Jason, it just you didn't care about any of the human characters like any of the kids. They're just, cannon fodder for Jason and Freddy. I mean, it was just, the focus was Freddy and Jason fighting. Plus, I was always disappointed that Kane Hodder wasn't in the film, like a lot of fans were. It just, when I thought of Freddy vs. Jason, I was thinking Jason from the last 4 movies against Robert Englund's Freddy, and so Kane Hodder. And there's just a lot of little things. After a time, I was like, I don't know. I just feel like it should be something more. So when talking to Blake about it, the ideas and the whole thing was, let's really make this feel like a continuation of Jason Goes to Hell and Freddy's Dead, where those left off. Like, as back in '97, when Rob Bottin, the effects guy behind The Howling, the Thing, when he was going to write and direct Freddy vs. Jason, the idea is like it was going to be a continuation of that. And, let's try and make it feel like a real event. So, bringing back characters from both franchises, bringing back a lot of that mythology in those earlier films, like really make it feel like a true, like, epic thing between these 2 franchises. And that was like really the driving force. And then of course, through the whole process of writing it, I would post, stuff for all my friends and like fans of the films. Like, how would you guys feel about, if Nancy Thompson was to come back in some way, or Alice Johnson and her son Jacob from 4 and 5? And, how would you guys feel like if I was to kind of bring back that storyline with Creighton Duke from Jason Goes to Hell, and, all these little things? And, the fans were loving it. I was getting messages all the time saying, oh yeah, that'd be so cool, and stuff. And it just kind of all went from there. And Blake was very awesome the whole process of, I'd send him pages a couple of days at a time. So what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And, he loved it, and very supportive, and very awesome collaboration with him. And it just built our friendship even more. And so once the script was all done, everyone loved it. So I was like, sweet. And then of course I had to be really good about not, because I'm very, when I write, I have the tendency to just pull like a Stephen King and just write. Next thing you know, sometimes only meant to be like 90 pages, winds up being like 300 pages. So he kept having like, someone's like, okay, let's, let's try and pull it back a little bit and not have it get too big. Originally it was going to be really huge, like try and bring as many characters from both franchises back as I could and stuff. But I was good about just saying, okay, we'll just do this, and maybe in the sequel or something we'll bring more people back. So.
I think we have someone trying to get in here now. So let me.
All right.
Cody,
get in here and see who we got. It's a mystery guest. It's just coming up as headphones, so if they can hear us.
It's connecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just Blake. How did you get involved in this film?
I was contacted by Cody. He had brought to my attention, it was the first week of February. I was already planning convention appearances and getting my convention schedule booked. Other than this, my main job is I am the best-selling author of Razor's Edge, which was a Freddy Krueger origin novel that I wrote in 2014. It was published in 2016, and that's actually the next film on our docket is to go ahead and do that one. So I'd written that book, and it's sold out. And then I started working on The Within, which was another horror novel, which was not Freddy related. And then I worked on Behind the Screams, which is a nonfiction book with Mick Strawn, which is a collaboration between he and I on the making of Nightmare 4. And got all the photos, 10,000 photos from the archive of all the actors, actresses, and all that. Basically, it's explaining how the movie was made, some of the things they had to go through in order to make sure that it was completed on time. So I had been busy doing between 3 books and being an actor and touring in a signed metal band. I was busy like all the time. So once I retired from the music side of things, like touring, I had more time to focus on film stuff and doing writing and all that stuff. So I had already started booking stuff. So I ended up pushing off some appearances and not booking certain things so I could go ahead and start work on this film. They came to me with this script. First Cody asked me if I would consider being the executive producer, and he said, well, you've got a lot of connections in the business, you're friends with Robert Englund, you're friends with all the cast, you go do all these shows and stuff, and you've got a lot of knowledge and you're very savvy about Nightmare on Elm Street. We would like someone with that kind of skill set for this film. Would you consider doing it? And I said, I'll think about it, and I thought about it for a little bit, and then I said, sure. And then he put me in touch with Josh. Josh and I talked through Messenger and email for a few days, and then we had our first real phone conversation a couple weeks after that, so mid-February. Stayed on the phone for something like 2 or 3 hours straight, talking about the film and talking about what our plans and our passions were for it and how we could see it going, and then just talk general stuff about what films we liked, what we liked about the characters, and I think at that point, it was pretty much set in stone that the 3 of us were going to be working together for the foreseeable future as much as possible. So that's sort of how it came along, and I offered my services as far as a composer is concerned. So I said I'll not only do the executive producing and the consultant job for the Freddy Krueger side of things, but I'll also compose for the film as well. That way, we have a full creative process. We've got executive producer, we've got writer, we've got director, we've got actors, and
Hey.
for the main two monster roles, the two villains, Freddy and Jason, and then we've got the composing side of things completed. So we already had everything lined up for that as far as production wise is concerned, and then Cody already has a special effects team and all these different costumes and makeup effects because he's known as one of the premier Jason cosplayers in the country. There's been features on him all over. He's been on the guest on wrestling shows and all kind of stuff as the Jason Voorhees character. So he already came into this project with all of that stuff completed, the costume, the makeup effects, the team to design things and locations and all that. And it came together so quickly. And then everyone started getting really excited about it. And we thought, well, this is a fan film, of course, it's going to be crowdfunded, and all the funds from that we raise are going to go into this film. And that's for production, special effects, because we're going all practical. There's not going to be any of that CGI stuff with this film. I'm a student of practical effects. Most of my friends in the business are practical effects artists that worked on the Nightmare films and, the Howling and Tremors and, so on and so forth. So I'm from like the second golden age of special effects, the 1980s up through the early to mid 90s there. So I was like, I want practical stuff. So we had all that stuff set out, and then pretty much it took on a life of its own. We launched the campaign, and immediately backers started joining in. We had a lot of perks. We still have perks and stuff, and we're all the time adding new things and doing lots of live videos. Both Cody and Josh have been super consistent with getting on there and doing videos. I get on there every day and do something. I'm actually positive that the backers and fans are probably tired of seeing me, but this is my job. Being an executive producer, there's a lot that comes in with that. And it's a real honor and privilege to have that job on this production.
Yo.
Yeah, I think Cody's trying to join us now.
Yeah.
Cody.
Cody?
I'm trying to. I'm just having some difficulty.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Stop it, Cody. Stop being difficult.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
So, Cody, you are the director, correct?
Yes.
And you are playing?
Jason Voorhees, yes.
All right, Jason. Okay. Well, the question you missed at the beginning was, what's your favorite horror movie?
Of all time or slasher?
All time. All time.
God. I was watching their video last night, and I got to thinking that for myself because there's so many for me I like, and I love Exorcist. That or Exorcist 3 is probably my favorite.
Exorcist 3 is an awesome movie.
Love Exorcist.
Very, very underrated. I love it.
That's what I was going to say. It's very underrated, and the acting in it's brilliant with George C. Scott, and
him and the priest
directed it. Yeah, that's probably my favorite one. It's just a brilliant film. Just all the way around. Terrifying and good acting, and so that's probably it.
All right, so I'll just throw this question out to everybody. What do you think is the best Friday 13th film? We just done an episode on Friday 13th about our favorite ones. So what's your favorite Friday 13th?
It's between 6 and 7 because I love both them, and I probably have to pick 7 because that's the introduction to Kane's portrayal of Jason, and probably and just I think John Beekler did an awesome job with like the effects and everything in it. So,
Blake, what's your favorite?
Well, it's actually a toss-up. I really love Kane. I do very much. He's a great guy. So it's a toss-up. I can't really say one or the other. I think as far as effects go, probably Part 7, The New Blood. But as far as just the kills are concerned, probably Friday the 13th Part 4, because Ted White did some amazing work. And there was just that Axel's head twist and the hacksaw to the throat. The bone saw, that just it wasn't done like that anytime after that. That was like the only film that had a kill as gruesome as that for that particular kind of death. A broken neck on top of having your throat cut with a bone saw.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, what's your favorite?
I'm the odd man out. I like Jason Goes to Hell the best.
What do you like?
Not.
That's not odd. I mean, Jason Goes to Hell is I thought it was cool when it first came out, and that was one of my my things is whenever they did have Freddy versus Jason, I mean, we got teased by that face off.
Yeah.
You know, at the very end of Jason Goes to Hell. And that's what we wanted to see. And I watched y'all's Indiegogo trailer, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly, I think that's what y'all are going for, if I'm mistaken.
No, definitely Jason Goes to Hell. Jason Goes to Hell and A Nightmare on Elm Street are actually, I saw those at just the right age, because I was about 14, and I had watched them both, and those were what planted the seed of getting into writing and learning about film as far as like how to write a screenplay, you know, because I went online and was able to look up the scripts and read them. Like, that's what I want to do. So I wound up basically teaching myself how to write. And then when I went to school, I took some film classes on screenwriting and stuff like that. But those two films are very, like, those are the movies that got me into it and stuff. And then for a long time, I never understood the hate for Jason Goes to Hell. It wasn't until like later, it's like, well, you know, Jason's not really in it that much. But I mean, the special K&B's effects in that movie, in my opinion, are still probably some of the best practical effects of all the Friday films.
I'd have to agree, and I hate to say it because I'm going to sound so weird, but that was my first introduction to on-screen sexual intercourse, and the way that it ended was the most disturbing thing for a 10-year-old child to see. I was certain.
It kind of gives new meaning to the term running a train, basically.
Oh, God.
Can you all see me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can see it.
Sorry, you set yourself up for that.
Yes,
I did no such thing. Now, it takes a lot to make me blush. I can't believe it.
What's funny is because Adam Marcus, that wasn't supposed to be in the movie. Like, that sex scene wasn't supposed to be in it. The studio wanted him.
Michelle Clooney and the guy she was doing it with were a couple that had broken up.
Yeah, they had just broken up prior to filming that movie. And he didn't know that till later. But yeah, no, that scene was the studio, because originally it was just, we were going to get the tease of the girl in the shower in the beginning. And that was it, because he didn't want to have any nudity in it.
And that
but the studio wanted it, it just, it's certainly probably one of the most gratuitous sex scenes I've probably heard. Yeah, when I was 14, watching, like,
but you know,
my poor little mind.
The chick in the shower, she's like a stunt woman. She was like in, like, what was it? Point
Roadhouse.
Break. She was in Roadhouse and Point Break.
She was in Roadhouse.
Yeah, I didn't recognize her with the dark hair. Yeah.
Yeah, doing the lap dance at the bar.
So, Cody, how did you get started in directing?
Directing? This will be my first.
Oh, really? This will be your first?
Well, this got him started.
So it was this movie that got you started. Yeah. Well, what made you decide that you wanted to direct this film?
I've just always, had a passion, love for, always wanted to, give it a try. And, I think I can take it into the direction that we're all, hoping and, it's going to be. So just have to see what happens.
I mean, I guess everybody starts somewhere there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
Somebody just started directing. He certainly knows what he wants, because that Facebook video that he put up talking about what won't be tolerated on the set, I was like, look at him having his own way.
All I know is my hat's off to you because of the stories. I mean, we talked to other directors and everything, and people that are part of making movies, and it always fascinates me. And then I hear of all the stories and headaches and everything, and they actually get it out there. And I mean, that's just awesome. I mean, I guess the key is persistence, as they say.
What would you like? Do you hope that Robert Englund or Kane Hodder or somebody sees this film? Would that be awesome? Would that just be like the greatest thing ever?
That would be the greatest thing ever.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Kane knows who I am, so.
Oh, does he? Okay. Yeah, I've met him at a convention one time. He's a really cool guy.
Robert's always been extremely supportive of my work. I've known Robert for 24 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I started out that whole interaction really young. I come from an abusive home and a broken home, so I was always trying to find ways to get out of that. So a letter I wrote to him was published in the newspaper, and they actually were somehow able to put us in contact with each other, and we stayed in contact for many years. And then I went and did my own thing, and then came back into the fold and started working in the horror business. And it was like Robert never forgot who I was. I mean, every time I see him, it's first name basis with him. And when Razor's Edge came out, he got the first copy of it that was bound. Like he'd present a script, and then when I saw him later, he's like, "I can't wait to see more of you out here. I love you. I have to tell you, I love everything you're doing, and it's good to see you out here again." And he's always been so receptive. When my wife was at a show with me and was coming up to talk to him, security grabbed her because she came off the elevator, and they thought she was some fan that was coming up to try to mob him. And Robert actually had to say, "That's Blake's wife. You can totally put her down. It's fine. You can put her down, and she's fine." And Lisa Wilcox was like, I've known Blake for years. That's his wife. She's great. She's a great person. You don't have to worry about her. Just, everybody's up there telling these security guys to put her down. Tuesday nights up there, and Amanda Wiss and so many Miko Hughes, Ricky Dean Logan, Danny Hassel, the whole Andros Jones. They were all up there. They're like, "That's Blake's wife. You can totally put her down." They weren't aware because they didn't see her come up with me. So they were just doing their jobs. They apologized after, and I was like, "It's really no big deal, guys. You were doing your job,
All right. Now, have you
That's just the good person Robert is,
have you thought about reaching out to any one of them, see if they wanted to maybe do a cameo or anything?
No, I did tell Lisa that we were featuring the Alice character in the film, but they're all so busy, and now, of course, with everything current event, why so many conventions have been canceled and stuff because of the coronavirus thing, and there's not a lot of travel and stuff happening, as far as that kind of thing's concerned. But they're all so busy. But the support they give, even though they can't be here and do it in person, the support they give is totally worth every bit. It's enough,
Right.
Really.
All right. So Josh and Cody, what would it be like for you to kill Freddy dressed as Freddy, kill Robert Englund, and then you kill Kane Hodder in the movie dressed, as you're playing Jason, or vice versa, whoever you want to kill.
Oh yeah,
That'd be like going full circle.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Aaron, you got any questions for him?
No, I mean, I've just been chiming in with a couple of them. Like I said, with the trailer I saw, it just looks like something we all been waiting for because it's been teased. And then when we actually got it, I kind of feel the same way as you, Joshua. Is like, this could be so much more. When it first came out. And I feel exactly the same way. I'm excited to see more of what this movie's gonna have. I mean, and of course I want to read those books that you have out there, Blake, because I mean it's just talking with fans of this, it looks like y'all are gonna do a great job.
Well, I have to give all the credit in the world to this team. Josh and Cody are like family to me. They've been so supportive. They've been, to ask me to be a part of this. And I mean, they were very, very understanding about knowing my schedule, because of all the conventions and doing all the, all the stuff I do in the industry. They're very, very patient with me when I can't get back with them as quickly as I would like. But they just, Josh is a brilliant writer. I really think that this is going to be the love letter that fans have been waiting for since there was talk of a Freddy versus Jason in the late 80s, since 1988. And then Cody, he puts on that Jason prosthetics and the costumes and all the incredible work that he helps do himself. I mean, not only does he wear all that stuff, but he helps design it and put it together, and he puts it on. He's a force to be reckoned with. I have been choked by this man, okay? And he will kick your ass. I'm just saying. And that's exactly how you want your Jason. But both of them, outside of the costumes and the movie magic, are two of the most nice, affable, genuine people that I've ever met. And it's another reason why I love working in this business, because getting to meet people like that makes it all worthwhile, because you know how they are. But when you see them put on to go to work, when you see them work, they get so invested in the characters. And I mean, if you haven't seen the makeup tests and stuff on the Facebook page for both of them, I encourage you to drop by and see them. It is so incredible. As somebody that's known the cast and's been in the business as long as I have, it is incredible to see how amazing they both look and how their personalities work so well together. This is going to be one hell of a film, and it's going to leave the fans with their jaws on the floor, provided they drop them themselves and Jason doesn't slash the jaws off. You know how overzealous Mr. Voorhees can get. You know,
Right.
he speaks softly and carries a big ass machete. So,
Now, Josh, you kind of touched on this earlier, but I'll go ahead and ask you again, and then get Cody involved. Is there anything about the Freddy versus Jason that you didn't really care for that you would like to maybe correct or do right in your version?
Well, first and foremost, obviously have, you know, like a Kane Hodder-esque Jason. I mean, nothing against Ken Kazurga's performance. I mean, you know, the director gave him a job as far as like what they wanted. But you know, I'd rather see Hodder's Jason, or you know, like what Cody's bringing. You know, just that, you know, force to be reckoned with, and you'll see in the film that, you know, and there are some little nods to the 2003 film, little quips that I had to throw in there. You guys will get it when you see it, but Cody is like perfect as far as like, that's the Jason that we need, especially since now he's Jason from Jason Goes to Hell in the film, which is, in my opinion, that was my favorite look too. You know, he just this behemoth, and and then of course having there be more Jason. I also felt with the 2003 film, it was a Freddy film. You know, New Line, that's, you know, Freddy is their baby, so of course he got to have the limelight, and Jason was just kind of like a glorified cameo in the film.
Yeah.
So I always felt like, even though Jason got to kill the most people in it, it just felt like he didn't get nearly as much attention or even as much respect as the character probably deserved. And I just felt like, also with this film, let's try and give him a little bit more attention, explore a little bit more of the backstory, you know, maybe try and have some fun with how he actually got resurrected in the first place and stuff like that. And just, you know, and if you guys weren't aware, you know, Pamela Voorhees will be in this in some capacity. We're going to really try and bring back a lot of earlier things with the mythology and try and correct a nice little puzzle where everything connects together.
Nice. Cody, anything you would like to change or correct that you didn't like in the original?
I agree with Josh a lot what he said. I'm bringing to this film the Kane Hodder type of Jason that, you know, all the fans wanted to see, you know, years ago. So that right there, and just like with Ken Kurtzinger, I just, you know, I don't think it fit. I don't think he fit that role, but that's what they was looking for. Definitely didn't like his look. Well, the biggest thing is in this film, a lot of fans cried out, or the biggest complaint about Jason Goes to Hell was that he wasn't in it enough, and that look was so awesome looking. Just he had the deformed head and all that stuff. That they was like, we wanted more of him. So this film, we're going to see more of that look, because I look identical to the film, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And so we're all going to be able to see that look throughout this whole film. So
yeah,
that's what we're going to bring to this. So,
and you were saying, Blake, I mean, I guess you're going to have a lot of practical effects in this. I know we all enjoy that instead of CGI. Is there going to be any kind of CGI, or is it just all practical in this?
Not as far as I'm concerned. There won't be any, if at all possible, because to me, seeing it happen in front of your eyes is a completely unique feeling. Like, you could see a film today. I'll mention it just because it's a point of contention. The remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, the whole sequence where the face gets pushed through the wall, that effect cost Jim Doyle $10 in the original film. He used spandex, pushed his face through it. He stood on some apple crates outside of the window. Took him 15 to 20 minutes to do that shot, and cost him $10 at the hardware store to buy the materials for the 2010 film. Cost them no telling how many thousands to do that. And I looked at it, and I knew it was computer generated the moment that I laid eyes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just bad CGI too.
Yeah,
Well, a lot of stuff
good
is.
marriage of the two. I really think there can be a good marriage of the two. But for me, the effects artists that I know in the business that I'm friends with are Nick Benson or William Force. You know, they did The Howling, they did Bride of Reanimator, they did Tremors, they did Nightmare 4, they did all these films, and then Steve Johnson and just Kevin Yeager and all the greats, Rob Bottin, Rick Baker, and to me, like there's one film that encapsulates it for me. It's not a Freddy film, but just in general, practical effects. American Werewolf in London. Watching the werewolf transformation happen, that could not be done with CGI today, and you not know it was not CGI.
Well, they tried it in American Werewolf in Paris.
Oh God! You know what's funny? What's funny is the last episode we were talking about movies that you have to have in quarantine, and that was Carey's werewolf movie, the American Werewolf in London.
My favorite.
And he
one.
always gives me shit because I love The Howling.
I prefer The Howling over.
Me too. Thank you.
As far as the composing standpoint, I like the music in Silver Bullet a lot better than I do in The Howling. You know, because I come from the composing side.
Oh yeah, Silver Bullet's just awesome. That movie is great.
That's my favorite werewolf.
I actually just watched that the other day. No, I love that movie. Gary Busey playing Gary Busey.
Yeah.
The thing that always,
what is it he says? The what we play? The Hardy Boys meet Reverend Werewolf?
Yeah. Whenever I watch that movie, the whole movie is fantastic. But then when they do the reveal of the wolf at the end, like the climax, I always just kind of just. It looks like a big bear. It looks like a guy in a big teddy bear suit.
Yeah.
It really does. It just looks like a guy in a teddy bear suit. Yeah, it just looks like a big bear. Like, I just want to give him a hug. You know, whereas you think of like the werewolf and the Howling.
Oh man,
the werewolf in a American Werewolf. You know, that thing looks like nightmare fuel. You know, those werewolves. Then you look at the one in Silver Bullet, just like a big teddy bear.
When I first saw The Howling, that did scare the shit out of me. I mean, I was real young when that came out, and when I saw that transformation, my eyes were just like, holy shit! I'm like, I wouldn't want to be in that room.
Right. No, the werewolf in that movie is amazing.
Oh yeah, man.
It's definitely probably one of my favorites. Another really great werewolf though was in the Howling 4. I mean, you only see it for about a minute. It was the one that Steve Johnson and Bill Forsh did.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like some kind of a weird like hellhound looking thing, like a cross between a werewolf and a bat. But you only see it for about a minute. But that thing is so cool looking. It's like if I saw that in the woods, it'd scare the crap out of me. But you only see it for about a minute in that film.
It's unfortunate because Bill Forsh is a really, really close friend of mine, and he's the one that did all the practical makeup application on Robert in Nightmare 4 and the stuntman too. Like, he did so many different effects in Nightmare 4, and he went on to do The Howling, and most of the props that I own are from him because he just sends them to me.
Yeah.
Well, I have one more thing about Friday 13th, and then we'll move on and talk about Nightmare on Elm Street a little bit. So in Jason Goes to Hell, the Necronomicon shows up. Would you want to do Ash versus Jason? Because now those universes are connected because it's in there. I guess not. All right, moving on.
Well, I was waiting for someone to answer.
Okay.
No one wants to touch it. Move on.
No. If you guys, I don't know, Blake, is it on there as part of the perks as far as like props? The Necronomicon and the Kandarian dagger both are very prominent in our film.
Nice. Okay, cool.
So I do acknowledge that. I spoke to Adam Marcus quite a bit on that just to make sure that, before I even consider including this stuff in the script, can you kind of fill me in? Is this like legit what you're trying to do with Jason Goes to Hell with this stuff? Or was it just a sight gag? And he's like, oh, no. So he filled me in and I was like, okay, sweet. So I threw them in there, and I tried to, because I always thought, especially after because I hadn't seen Evil Dead when I saw Jason Goes to Hell for the first time. It wasn't until later I saw Evil Dead, and I was like, saw the Necronomicon, I'm looking, I'm like, wait a second, isn't that the book from Jason Goes to Hell? And then the dag, wait, isn't that the dagger? So then I went back and watched Jason Goes to Hell, and yeah, and it was. And I also think it's funny because the crate from Creepshow's in that movie too. It's in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says Julia Hicks, Horlicks University on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
which I really wish that thing had jumped out at some point. That would have been freaking amazing.
Maybe
Hey, so
those are
what's,
just nods or something, you know?
That could
They
be.
do
Yeah.
that.
So what's everybody's favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film? Josh, you can go first since you're playing Freddy.
Excluding the original, because that's obviously number one. As far as the sequels go, I'll also exclude New Nightmare because those two films are like their own. I have to make it all complicated. Those
Right.
two are like
Yeah.
those are perfect. So as far as the sequels, 2 through 6, the order would be 4, 5, 2, 3, and then 6.
Blake,
I
what about
actually
you?
really like 4 and 5 a lot. Those are probably my favorites of the sequels.
Blake, what's your favorite one?
Again, I'm gonna have to join the Josh Club and say outside of the original as far as sequels. As far as sequels, part 4, because most of my friends and the cast and crew, everyone I know that I'm friends with worked on Nightmare 1 and Nightmare 4. Some worked on 3, but as far as 4 was the first one that I ever owned on video that was a sequel. So I feel like a special sort of connection to that one, you know?
All right. Cody, how about you?
Well, besides the first one, because that's everybody their favorite, and probably part 2. I love part 2.
You like part 2? I'm not surprised no one said the remake, but
No, I'm with Cody. Part 2 is awesome, especially when Freddy goes and wrecks the party and
That's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
right. It's awesome, man.
Part,
Fire and
yeah, part
everything.
part two is definitely the best Freddy of all the films, 1 through New Nightmare. Kevin Yeager's work in Nightmare 2 is probably the best. All the little details that we're going to try and bring back in this one, as far as the look of Freddy, all the way down to the contacts that Robert wore in that film, where it's like almost like the flame,
I know
like
that.
reddish orange type contacts. We're going to be
was
trying to do that too, and then of course the teeth and everything else, like all these little details we're going to try and bring back from that one, because that really is, he's certainly the scariest looking in that film.
now, do you wish, and of course this will be a question for everybody, do you wish that they wouldn't have made It's So Campy in the later, like made him try to be funny and the one-liners? Do you wish they wouldn't have done that, or are you happy with the fact that it went campy in the later movies?
Well, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like on one end, I mean, Robert is such a fantastic actor, and he's very witty, and his timing is so good. It's awesome, but then on the downside to that, the moment, it was like that combination of so many things, because part 4 was so successful, and it was like that MTV generation. And then they had the TV show. They had the kids' pajamas and the cool toy, stuff. And he was just everywhere. So a lot of the fear and the mystique that he had in those early films, like 1 through 3, where he was in the shadows a lot, and, he wasn't quite so exposed. Once they got away from that, it really started to take a lot away from him. He wasn't quite so scary anymore. And then, of course, in part 5, they tried to go back to that. The problem is Freddy himself stayed the same. He was actually even more ridiculous than he was in part 4, and even more over the top. But the film itself was, so I would tell Blake, it's like it was almost the perfect film because it was dark and gothic, which I love. Like the first 15, 20 minutes of that movie was near perfect. Like when he gets resurrected in the church, and like the lighting, the imagery, and everything was awesome. And then all of a sudden they decide, oh wait, maybe we're not going to go this dark, and they go back to the comedic stuff where he's talking about better not, scream and drive, and and all that kind of stuff, and him dressing up like a chef. Even though that scene is pretty disturbing, and stuff. But and then of course the Super Freddy. They really went over the top with Super Freddy.
Yeah, going back to the chef scene though, that scene there where he stabs the meatball, like that, like just almost ruined pizza for me.
Oh, in part 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
See,
Rick, he's still a meatball.
Yeah. One of my, I guess it's not really a problem, but one thing that I've always thought about was how the character became so likable in in the later films. But then you think back and you're like, he was originally like a child murderer, and then now everybody's like raising him up as like this iconic hero or something.
Exactly. Like I said, going back to that whole thing about how there's like kid pajamas and the toys, like little kid toys, and it's like at the end you're like, wait, this guy was like a child killer and probably a child molester too, and it especially as an as an adult, as a parent myself, it's just like it's just weird, and a lot of it's just because of Robert himself. He's so charismatic, you can't help but like him.
Right. Yeah.
But that was one of the big things too when I was writing this, like early on, was like I know what works best as far as the character, what fans really like, which is those first like 1, 2, and 3, that darker, scarier Freddy. And at one point I was like, should I not have him do any humor at all? Should I just have him be just straight, scary? But then it was like, well, I need to have some of his wit, because that's part of who he is, that kind of snide wit and stuff. But then it was, my idea then was, okay, let's make his jokes be so crude and disgusting that you feel kind of gross for laughing at him. Like you kind of feel bad about it. Like it's like, ew, that's like really nasty. So the whole goal was to try and bring him back to a much more nastier, just meaner version of who he was in those first few films. Really crude. Like he does do some little wit and jokes, but it's very nasty. And very, as Blake would say, it's very, very disturbing.
Yeah.
But another thing I was wondering too is, like, I know there was a problem with some of the Friday 13th fan films as far as rights. Is that still a big issue, or with some of the independent films being, I guess the studios putting a stop to it? Like, how do you get past like New Line saying, hey, you can use our character?
You want me to take this one, Josh?
Sure.
Well, I'm after this, I'm probably going to have to get off here, gentlemen. I've got something I got to go take care of. I didn't know how long the show was going to be, but I wanted to make sure that I was here.
Yes, sir.
A good chunk of it, so I could discuss things. But first, I agree with Josh. I do think, on a different subject, that going back to the dark roots is important. I don't think we should ever lose the humor. I think if he would have stayed dark too long, people would have grown tired of him, and he wouldn't have been as culturally iconic and as recognized and as memorable as he is, because he's a monster with a personality. I mean, nothing against Jason. I love Cody and I love Jason, but Jason is a man of very few words, no words. And the same goes for Michael Myers. Something about Freddy's personality, he relishes in the harm that he causes you, and he's happy about it, and that's what makes you love him and hate him all the same. But you don't forget him. Certainly. I mean, you could show a kid a picture of Freddy, and 9 times out of 10, even today, with kids that probably haven't watched all the films, they'll recognize the Freddy Krueger character. Especially because of the look, the weapon. He's got so much going for him. Jason's got the hockey mask and machete. Freddy's got the burn up, disgusting face and the cool, razor clawed glove. And red and green are no longer Christmas colors now because of Freddy. But as far as the rights go, we made it clear there was a little bit of posturing in the community. I mean, something I experienced when I put out Razor's Edge, especially, because fans, there's always going to be someone that says, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing it." I mean, it goes without saying. But and everybody's allowed to have their opinion. But as far as the fan film goes, that's exactly what this is. I mean, the way we get by that is we're not making a profit off this. I haven't been paid anything for this and won't be paid anything for this. This is a project that is a passion project. It's not something that we're taking backers' money and we're going to squirrel it away and go take a trip. What we're doing is everything we're getting as far as this campaign is going into production, the special effects, which are a huge part of this film, set dressing, wardrobe for our some of our extras, camera equipment and post-production items like ADR looping and editing software, and having someone, paying an editor to put the film together for us, and then, mixing and mastering the audio, and things are all going into the production. And we've made that very, very clear when we started the campaign, that we're not making anything off of this. I mean, Josh, isn't either, and he's had such a hard job. I mean, it's an important job, writing the script and having to play the Freddy character. That's a big glove that he has to fill. And he's doing it so well. And the same with Cody. They both are taking on multiple roles in the film in order to make sure it gets done right. And one step further, Cody's actually putting up actors and actresses at his residence for the duration of the film. And while they're there, I mean, we're not making anything off of this. I mean, he's certainly not making anything. He's putting up all these actors and actresses at his own expense. And then he's already started the production with an effects crew and effects team that does his work for his outfits and his makeup effects. So much has already been taken care of as far as that stuff goes. And a good portion of the funds are going towards especially the effects, because we're using so many practical effects. That was a point of contention. A lot of fans are like, I'll back it, but I don't want any computer generated crap. I mean, they're very persistent about that, and I have to say I don't blame them at all. I like to see it happen in front of my eyes. You know what I'm saying? And I think practical is the way to go. And I mean, this is a passion project for all of us. We are fans before anything else. Before we're professionals in the business, writers, actors, whatever we are, we're fans first. And that's why we want to bring a project to the masses that's something that they could be proud of, something they could be proud to support, something that they'll want to remember for years and years. And yeah, we offer some perks. You're right, we do. We have DVDs, but we're also streaming the film on YouTube. The DVDs are for people that want to own just a copy, so they can have watch parties with their friends and say, "Hey, I helped back this movie, and now I have a copy of it. Check this out, man." And it's so much of this is like going back into making the fans happy. That's all our goal with this film is to make the fans happy, to have these darker, grittier, edgier, gorier, blood-soaked, vengeance-filled meeting between these two cinematic maniacs, bringing together cohesively Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th fans, bringing them together so we can bring them one hell of a film, and that's what we're going to do.
You want to give everybody the information on the you're on Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
Indiegogo, right?
The link, I don't actually have the link where I can send it to you right here, but we've been posting it every day consistently on Facebook pages, on our Facebook page for the film, which is Freddy VS Jason Dreamscape. That's how you can find it on Facebook. And the campaign link is active. We've still got 24 days on it, and so far we're 22% funded as of this morning. We are $2,200 into our $10,000 budget, which, again, keeping with the spirit of the Nightmare films and the early Friday the 13th, these films have got a very little budget. I mean, Nightmare 1 had a budget of $1,800,000, and this film has got a budget of $10,000. I mean, that's very ambitious for such an effects-laden script.
Yeah, I'll grab the links and put them in the show notes and in the comments on this episode when it comes out.
Oh, and share them.
And I'm also going to go there and look at your perks and see what you get. I always like to pick up the DVDs of these independent films whenever they're coming out.
We appreciate that. We appreciate you wanting to take time to go check it out. That's all we ask. I mean, if you can't pick a perk up, I know with the way that the climate politically and socially right now is askew, and people are, jobs are an issue, and there's just so much going on. We understand if you can't back it, but if you share it, sharing is just as good as backing. I mean, that's putting the word out and putting, the sound bites out for people to grab so that it can be shared, because word of mouth is still very valid. I mean, word spreads, and it certainly has so far. It's spread like a fire in Freddy's boiler room. You know what I'm saying? It's been incredible.
Well, I'm getting apparently I'm getting money from Trump, so I'll use that to pick up a DVD. So Cody, where if people want to get a hold of you, are you on social media? You want to give some info out there?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook on just me, Cody Huskins, and I have a horror page called Huskins Horror Studios. You can find me on there, and I have an Instagram too, just Cody Huskins, and you can find me on there. So,
all right, Josh, how about you?
I have my Facebook page. It's Joshua Adams. So
That's it. No Twitter. No Instagram.
no
Not even
Instagram.
Snapchat. Come on.
Hey, he's writing a script. He doesn't have time for all that, man.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
There you
hard
go.
to boil.
Well, it was great talking to all three of you. I'm really looking forward to this film. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'll go out there and pick up the DVD perk once I get off. Once we stop this episode and I can get back on there.
You know, Carey, you didn't ask me about my links. I'm a little upset.
Oh, I'm
I know.
sorry. I thought maybe you were the Indiegogo. That was good. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Where can they find you at?
I was just going to say I do have a Twitter. I've got an Instagram, and I've got a Facebook. So if you search my name on Facebook, you'll find me, Blake Best. It's pretty simple. The mustache is a dead giveaway.
Okay.
That way on Instagram, I am Blake Best Official. That's all you do is type that in, and on Twitter, I am Blake Best 1428. Because what better place is there to be than 1428 Elm Street?
There you go. Now, like I said, it was a blast talking to all three of you. Like I said, I can't wait for this movie. It's really interesting. And maybe when you get closer to completing the film, you guys can come back on and give us some updates.
no, absolutely.
I got to say thank you to Josh and Cody for coming on and not leaving me up here to fend for myself. I appreciate it.
You would have done fine without them.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I had some problems there.
Oh, no.
That's fine. I wasn't going to tell Jason that I was mad
Oh,
at him
you
for
don't
being late.
some shit.
All right, man. We'll talk to you guys later.
I tried to be mask if I could curse or not. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're
Yeah.
we're good. Just go back and listen to some other episodes.
Or don't. Oh man. No, I had a blast talking to you guys. Man, interesting. I like hearing everybody's story. I think this thing's gonna be epic. I mean, everybody's a fan. Everybody's got backgrounds in this. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And like Carey said, we'll share the hell out of it. So
Awesome.
Thank you for having us, Carey and Aaron. We appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
it's
no
been
problem.
so
We enjoy it.
fun. It's just sharing the camaraderie, the love of the horror thing. It's one of the things I love about the community, and you guys are keeping it alive and well too, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We love talking to like the independent people on here. It's great.